Welcome back to another Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into a story that completely flips the script on how we think about education, behavior, and finding our true purpose. We're going to dive into the hilariously chaotic yet totally heartwarming story of how one very mischievous monkey completely transformed his entire jungle. So let's get into it and see how a little bit of chaos might actually be the secret ingredient to the perfect learning environment.
Seriously, think about it for a second. What actually happens when the absolute naughtiest monkey in the jungle decides to become a teacher? Usually we expect our educators to be, well, the rule followers, right? But what happens when the guy standing at the front of the class is the one who usually ends up in detention? Section 1, meet Momo, the mischief maker. Let's look at Momo. This guy had absolutely boundless energy and was famous for literally all the wrong reasons. The whole jungle was just exhausted by his daily pranks. And we're not talking about just making a ruckus here. Look at these silly crimes. He was stealing bananas from massive elephants, wearing actual lion tails like they were his own personal winter scarves, and, get this, he managed to paint a sleeping, highly dangerous crocodile bright pink. I mean, you can imagine the sheer stress this caused the local wildlife.
Well, every community has its breaking point. King Lion finally lost it. He stepped in and shouted, "Mo, Mo, if you have this much energy, do something useful." And it's a classic leadership pivot. He didn't tell Momo to stop having energy. He basically demanded that Momo channel that absolute chaos into something productive. Actually, that scolding hit Momo pretty hard. Feeling genuinely sad and defeated, he retreated and just sat all alone on a tree branch under the stars. It's kind of a quiet, heartbreaking moment because it shows us he wasn't malicious, right? He just had zero clue what to do with himself. He really needed a purpose. But then, a realization hits. Section 2, Jungle Babies Need a School. While he was sitting there moping, Momo noticed a massive, glaring gap in the jungle's ecosystem. There were all these tiny, crying jungle babies with absolutely nobody to teach them the basics. We're talking baby elephants who didn't know how to count, baby parrots who couldn't read a single word, and tiger cubs just completely lacking social skills, duking it out over crayons. Momo realized their community was entirely neglecting its youngest members. And bam, that was the spark. Momo's eyes literally lit up with an idea, and the very next morning, he hung up this giant, impossible-to-miss sign declaring his brand new educational philosophy. Momo Jungle School. No homework, only fun. Talk about a bold marketing strategy, right? He immediately positioned his school as the absolute opposite of boring, rigid learning. Of course, having a flashy sign doesn't guarantee instant success. Step 1, he opened the school. Step 2, he realized literally nobody was showing up. It was totally empty. But Momo, he didn't quit. Instead of getting discouraged, he leaned into his natural silliness for step 3. He strapped on giant banana shoes and did this ridiculous, hilarious dance right outside. And it worked perfectly. He got the babies laughing so hard that they enrolled instantly. He just completely broke down their anxiety with pure humor. And that's when the real magic started. Section 3. Welcome to Momo Jungle School. Once these kids got in the door, they experienced the most high-energy, unorthodox curriculum you could possibly imagine. Traditional subjects were totally thrown out the window. Math? Forget chalkboards. They were counting with real bananas. Science? His classroom was electric. They were literally exploding coconuts. For art class, he turned massive elephants into walking canvases. And music consisted of parrots singing with so much volume and joy that it actually moved the clouds away. Pure, hands-on, experiential learning. But no school is perfect. Section 4, the Great Frog Prank. Every teacher faces that one ultimate classroom management test, right? For Momo, it was Tinku. Tinku was this tiny, incredibly angry tiger cub who just despised school. So to completely ruin everyone's day, Tinku secretly released an astonishing number of frogs right into the middle of the classroom. 200 of them. Just imagine the sheer volume of that for a second. 200 frogs unleashed indoors all at once. The result was exactly what you would expect. Frogs. Everywhere. Absolute, unmitigated chaos erupted as the room was completely overrun by these things jumping across desks, books, and students. Picture the sheer bedlam here. You've got baby giraffes screaming their heads off in panic. You've got parrots dramatically fainting because, of course they did. And the absolute peak of the disaster, one frog landed directly on King Lion's head.
The ultimate disrespect to the jungle's authority figure. Now, in any normal school, this is the exact moment the kid gets expelled, right? But Momo is definitely not your traditional teacher. Instead of getting mad, instead of yelling or punishing Tinku, Momo did the completely unexpected. He cracked up. He laughed so hard, he literally fell out of a tree. He just smiled at Tinku and instantly flipped the prank into a brilliant new activity, shouting, "Tomorrow, frog racing competition!" He just absorbed the disruption and immediately integrated it right into the curriculum. The babies went wild cheering for this. Section 5. Laughter makes learning magical. That single reaction completely changed the jungle's future forever. From that day on, every single baby loved learning because Momo taught them that school should actually make you smile. Those once crying, crayon-fighting babies grew up into highly intelligent, kind, and joyful adults. I mean, the long-term metrics for Momo's model were an absolute, undeniable success. In fact, the jungle's societal values shifted so much that years later, they built a massive golden statue right in the center of town. And get this, it was not for the king, it was not for the strongest or fiercest animal. The highest honor their society could bestow was built for Momo, the funny monkey teacher. They finally realized that the person who shapes the minds of the next generation with joy is literally the most valuable member of their community. Momo's incredible legacy perfectly illustrates our core takeaway from today's explainer. Learning becomes magical when it is filled with laughter. It's a profound reminder that education doesn't need to be stiff or rigid to be effective. It's actually incredibly powerful and transformative when we actively embrace joy, humor, and, maybe a little bit of chaos. So, taking a page right out of Momo's book, I want to leave you with a really fun question to chew on today. If you opened a school, what animal would you teach? Think about the crazy methods you'd have to invent to reach them, just like Momo did with his banana math and exploding coconuts. Anyway, thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep laughing, and I'll catch you next time.